to the Milwaukee Show, and today we are here to talk about the Atlantic Division and my predictions for it. So let's just hop right into it with my number one pick for the division is the Toronto Maple Leafs, the team that has just packed so full of talent this offseason. 50, 21, and 11 last season, right? Second in the division last season, only behind the best season ever, Boston Bruins. Second behind them, and they only got better from there. They're better than last year, and the one team above them got way worse, and that just easily plants them into that first place spot. They are just better. With Domi, with Klingberg, with Bertuzzi, they are just simply better. Ryan Reeves as well, but really those are the guys. And guys like Jake McCabe now throughout the whole season. I feel like guys like Samsonov, now they're kind of like nestled into being the number one guy for Toronto. I feel like Toronto's just got it all. They've got it all down. And guys like Matthew Knies just breaking out, guys like Nylander kind of up in the air of like what's going to happen with him. Maybe he plays for his life, like a lot of things just make sense for the Toronto Maple Leafs to just be very good this year. They were great last year, and they only got better, and the only team better than them got worse, and I don't think any team got good enough to pass them. So to me, Toronto, easy number one pick. Do they win the Stanley Cup? That's a whole other story, but we'll get there when we get there. Second place, and I know this might seem bizarre, but this is my predictions, and you can believe whatever you want, but I think the Buffalo Sabres, the team that I was so excited for last season, and they barely missed it, are going to finally break the walls down like Jericho and get into the playoffs. With a 42-33-7 record last year, with 91 points, they are just better. Goaltending, this team, the issue was getting scored on. When it comes to scoring goals, they were I think they were team number 4 in the league, 5, 3. They were like one of the top 5 teams, I think, in goal scoring. They were absolutely phenomenal with the breakouts of, called by me, Tage Thompson, guys like just the whole team is just a scoring machine. Like, I don't have to name names. Like, they are just simply offensively super powered, right? But getting scored on was horrendous. But now they have Devin Levi, which I personally am very... I don't know what to think about, but I just feel like this team, since they're leading with him, they must... And he had, a 5-2 record in the season last year before the season ended. He didn't look bad. He looked good. And I think working with the NHL and with the offseason, I just think is perfectly setting him up to be the number one goaltender that they need. And guys like Eric Comrie are right there that could fill in the gaps if Devin Levi has an issue playing. And for me, they were so good last year, and they just could not keep the puck out of their net. Now guys like Owen Power have developed. Samuelson has developed. Guys like Devin Levi are going to be in net, which is an improvement over the likes of Craig Anderson of all goaltenders. And me, I think Buffalo is solving the issues of them, and I think the other teams in this division haven't really fixed their issues and have also gotten worse, which we'll get to after in a little while. So, for me, Buffalo gets in that second spot. Next is the Florida Panthers, the Cinderella story team in the playoffs. I think people don't realize that they were immensely talented just a couple years ago. Last season was a huge drop pack. I remember 2 years ago they won the President's Trophy and scored the most goals ever in a season. Okay, that wasn't it, but they were like the Buffalo Sabres, just scoring machines. And last year was a big drop for them. They dropped to barely missing the playoffs, and they're still together. They still have the team mostly together, but they're going to start off rocky without Ekblad, without Brandon Montour. But really the biggest thing for them is that this team is still together. They still have superstars in Kachuk and Barkov, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, and with Spencer Knight coming back and Bobrovsky if he's back for good. This team is still solid, still put together. The depth is where things get interesting, but overall the team is still put together. They're still a good team, and I think with the drops of Boston and Tampa Bay leaves a gap for them to fill in that no one else is really going to fill in. Except maybe Ottawa. Now, for me, I think the Atlantic gets both of the wild cards, I think. I think that's what I believe it right now. And Ottawa, I think, is going to be one that steals one away with 39, 35, and 8 last season, 86 points for the year. They add Vladimir Tarasenko, and Drake Batherson established himself last season with 62 points, and I think he's just going to only stay at that number or go even higher than that. Tarasenko's number is coming along to really fill in and not be like the goal scorer that DeBrincat. I think Tarasenko better fits the role that DeBrincat didn't want. I think Tarasenko is definitely the better, like the second option guy. DeBrincat wants to be the number one and wasn't really given that chance. And now Tarasenko is going to be a better fit for the team, be just better fit. Norris was written on the board, and I forgot to wipe it out because he was going to be back, and now he's gone. So that is a huge blow to this team once again, because the top 9 is great, but now without Josh Norris, things kind of get thrown all over the place, where I could have seen it. To me, the big flip-flop would be between Detroit and Ottawa, and now with the injury to Norris is kind of sketchy, because to me now it's like, I think Detroit might be the one that comes in and steals that top spot, and they might not be as competitive in offensive play, because with Norris, those 2 top lines are pretty solid, third line's pretty solid, but now that you have to promote guys up, that's where things start to get interesting, where I'm like, I don't know. So to me, the one biggest question mark, I think everything else on here, except for the Red Wings and the Senators, is all I would switch. Those 2 are the only ones that I'm kind of mixed on for that. So for the Senators, I think they're in the mix regardless, and it's either them or the Red Wings. But let's talk about the team I have in the middle of them, the Tampa Bay Lightning. 46, 30, and 6, last season, 3rd in the division. I just think that this team, they were running out of gas, and Game 1 of the season already happened last night, and I know I'm filming this late, but it is what it is. This team looks slow. They look tired with Stamkos apparently not being offered a contract. Maybe the team is looking for a rebuild or starting to look to maybe retool some pieces, keep Point and Kucherov around, maybe move out from a guy like Stamkos to... I don't even know. I don't know who the replacements for Steven Stamkos would be. But it's just with him, losing Killorn, losing Ross Colton, losing just that line of Belmar and Maroon and Corey Perry. That whole line is gone now. The team is just slowly falling apart. And now, of course, the injury to Vasilevsky. To me, I think they're going to start off very shaky, and once they get Vasilevsky back, they're still a good team, and they're still going to be competitive, but I feel like with especially not even like a Brian Elliott in net, but with Johansson in net, or what was the Alnefelt, is that the backup to him? Those goaltenders, it's just like, I don't trust them at all to keep them in a game. Like, the defense of the Lightning is amazing with Chernak, Sergachev, and Hedman, but even then, it's just like those type of goaltenders, they're not gonna, sure, every goaltender will rob a game every once in a while, but these guys, I don't know if they're gonna be good enough to keep them in the running, and with the already seemingly gas running low in the tank, it just spells a lot of disaster, but I still think they're good enough to just squeak in the playoffs or lose it to a Metropolitan team, but I think they're in the weeds there. With the Detroit Red Wings up next, 80 points last season, coming in at 7th. I do think they are better this season. And to me, I think this is going to be a big year for them, but not big enough. I think it's going to be kind of like if last season 98 points, 111, and 135 was like up there, and then 98 and 2 were the ones that just barely didn't make it in. I think the Red Wings go from like 80 points to like that 92. And it's like they're going to be right there on the verge of making it in. But to me, with the acquisitions of guys like JT Compher, I like DeBrincat, but I just don't see these moves like being those over-the-line moves. I still think the guys like Raymond and Soderblom and Evanson are what's going to really change this team, right? I think it's the young guys who are going to push them over the edge. Guys like Sprong, I love that they bring in him, but I still think it's up to these young rookies to really make the difference there. I think guys like Casper, Evanson, they're the ones that need to stand up and really make a difference. They're kind of being shaped to somewhat like Sprong's team, the Kraken, where they have some good solid top guys in Larkin and DeBrincat, which the speed of those two guys together is insane. But to me, it's still just not going to push them over the line. Like, defensively, like, sure, Seider is fantastic, but after that, especially moving out Hronik, which was a strange move, I'm still kind of, like, not that good. Goaltending isn't going to really save the day. They're just not there yet. So for Detroit, they're in the weeds, they're in the mix, but I think they're just miss out. Guys like Comfer aren't going to save the day. Then the Boston Bruins. I know, they're all the way down the list. And I just don't see any other way. This team does still have some really good highlights on them, but with the losses of Krejci and Bergeron, any team, like you subtract their top two centermen and no replacement really, it's any team. Like let's just take, I'm just going to look, not Columbus, they suck anyways. Let's go with the Wild, right? You get rid of the Wild's top two centermen, right? Who replaces them? I have no idea. I mean, their centermen aren't really that prevalent anyways. But take, like, the Winnipeg Jets right here, right? You take away the Jets, you have, like, who? Scheifele, and then you've got, well, now you lost Dubois, so he's gone now. So now you're left with Adam Lowry, I guess. So if you subtract those two guys from the equation, what's this team left with, you know? Like, that is a deep hole that they just didn't fill. And guys like Zacha, sure, like, Zacha and Coyle aren't the worst, but they're just not going to really be that same dynamic player that Bergeron and Krejci brings. And just too many losses. They're just... I don't know. The team is still good. Defensively, they are pretty impressive. Like, Marchand and Pasternak. Pasternak is still unreal. But to me, the depth of that offense is going to be tough to produce goals. And I feel like in net, Ullmark is going to take a setback this season. And I just have... I think the Bruins are going to have a fight, but I just feel like the fight is going to be a lot more centralized. And guys like... teams like Ottawa and the Red Wings, like, this is their year to strike. And the Buffalo Sabres, this is their year to go for it. And I think this will be a situation where the Bruins aren't a true lottery team, but it's going to be like it's a situation of, like, you're the worst, best all-star, you know? Like, you might be on the all-star team, but there's someone, just by technicalities, has to be the worst. And for the Bruins, I think they still are fighting, but when it comes to, like, let's say the deadline, once again, for, like, points is, like, let's say it's 93 this season, right, to get in the East, I think the Bruins are a team that gets to, like, 80 points, where they're just, like, they're not close, but they're not, like, just a hole, you know? But a team that still is the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I love what they're doing. I love the additions that they're making, slowly but surely. But guys like Caulfield and Suzuki, and Slafkovsky, like, they're just not there yet to really pull the team together. Defensively, they're horrible. Goaltending, they have no one special. Offensively, that is just nothing. Like, the team doesn't need to be good. They aren't good, and they're not going to win a lot of games. But they don't need to. Caulfield's amazing. Suzuki's amazing. Slafkovsky, I think, is going to develop. And the team's got a lot of other young guys to look forward to as well. But they're just not ready yet, and they're just going to keep losing. But that's fine. That is fine. That's not a bad thing. It's what they need, and it's the medicine that doctors prescribing, and that's what the Canadiens need. But overall, I think first place Toronto, I think, is a lock. Buffalo, I think, is top 3. You could maybe switch them with Florida, but I think Buffalo is top 3. The Senators make it in. Tampa is going to be in the mix, and I think overall, I think it's between Ottawa and the Red Wings. Is the only two things I might switch around. But other than that, I think is all I gotta say. So thank you for watching this. If you've made it this far, please, I'm begging you, pick up your free subscription. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.